talk face. Can we talk for a second?
Can you knock?
No.
Appraisal's a joke.
Oscar happens to be one of our most experienced gemologists
Who clearly knows nothing about colored stones.
Let's play a game. Games are pretty fun. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the name A24? I'll give you a few seconds and mentally make a note of what you think when you hear A24. Okay, I've given you enough time to answer that question, but for me personally, A24 is associated with real, raw, envelope-pushing stories. But now that doesn't seem to really be the case or the emphasis of the company anymore. A24 doesn't have an actual tagline. HBO literally means home box office. That's fitting for the company. A24 just sounds cool, but let's be honest, they make some pretty riveting stuff. So I think my previous statement does them justice. Their brand image is clear. Well, it was clear. Now it's murkier than Shrek's swamp water. It just seems like the aim of the company is to put a bunch of famous people and make a production. Names are selling tickets, because in all honesty, why is Tyler the Creator in this movie? Why are Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in a drama that seems cliche and predictable? This movie and You, Me and Tuscany seem like they're the same, even though they are made by completely different people and made for two completely different audiences. A24 probably told the person who cut up their trailer to make sure to put the scene of Zendaya choking him out on purpose so that all the gooners can come in droves and hype up this movie. I can already tell every major plot point simply from this trailer. That's not a good sign, especially considering that this is A24. I feel like this is literally her in Challenges all over again, but anyways, that's besides the point. A24 is finished. Let me explain.
The Big Dipper.
Like, let's just think back to when this company was still hungry. I'm talking Oliver Twist kinda hungry. I'm talking about when we were seeing unknown actors being pushed to the forefront, making a name for themselves. Think of the movie Moonlight. That was a very interesting story with a lot of sensitive themes and topics that was handled with the delicacy of fine china. That was during the peak of the A24 renaissance. At this time, Ashton Sanders wasn't known. You may know him now from Judas and the Black Messiah, but back then he was pretty much a Z-list celebrity. No offense. Now, whenever I see a trailer for a new A24 film, I just add it to a playlist called A24 movies to watch later, but I never really get around to it because the stories don't seem that captivating to me anymore. It seems more like a premeditated cash grab, if anything. That happens to be the case with most movies nowadays. It's either a prequel or a sequel, or just a bunch of vapid stories being told by a star-studded cast. They are not abysmal, but I'm just like, meh. A24 is starting to have a catalog similar to Netflix. That's not a good thing, by the way. Yeah, sure, there's a wide variety of content, but is it really worth your while? I feel like there's been an increase in the decline of storytelling prowess. I don't mean that these movies are bad. They can never be that bad. It's A24. What I mean is that A24 doesn't have a grip on people's heartstrings the way it used to. When A24 was new, everyone was talking about them. Even people who don't give a fuck about films. You know it's serious when people who don't even know what Letterboxd is are writing lengthy blog posts discussing A24. That's how it used to be. Gone are the days. You can clearly see the business model shift with A24 in real time. Most of their classics are films from the mid to late 2010s. There's a clear shift towards commercial appeal. Subject matter from back then versus now on polar opposites. And I think it's evident as to why. We all know why. The power of the almighty dollar. At the end of the day, it's always about the paper. Every now and again, there's a new production that breaks that mold, but it isn't the norm anymore. When you used to see an A24 trailer, you'd be like, oh, this looks really good. Now it just seems like more Nepo babies are being pushed to the forefront. Nepo babies and getting golden opportunities will never end. Let me revisit this Marty Supreme movie. You have Odessa in this film. Odessa is the daughter of Pamela, not just any Pamela, the VA for Bobby Hill. Let's look at the cast of Waves. I don't know any of these people except Taylor Russell. She only really became known after this film. This is also where everyone took note of Alexa Demi. Compare this cast with Marty Supreme, almost everyone here is well known. This cast has more known names than unknown ones. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's still a cause for concern. The contrast speaks for itself. This is a star-studded cast, and of course, Timothée Chalamet is the main selling point of this movie. The trailer looks good, but I'm not really excited the way I used to be a decade ago. I feel like A24 has now resorted to names making box office hits rather than putting an emphasis on raw stories. Don't get me wrong, A24 has always had a thing for putting famous people in their movies, but it seems like they would put underground stars, if that even makes sense, or a big name would have a total screen time just shy of like what, maybe 10 minutes? For example, take a look at the movie Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler was in that movie. That's where public perception of Adam Sandler started to change regarding his on-screen talents. But at that time, Adam Sandler wasn't the guy in Hollywood he is right now. And that movie had a cameo from The Weeknd, but that was it, just a cameo. Clearly, this cameo made him have some other form of awakening because this marked the inciting incident for his acting arc that at this point is synonymous with trash. Now it seems like everything has been flipped on its head. The movies rely on big names and storytelling takes a back seat because there is no reason why Ice Spice is singing in a Spike Lee movie. There's no reason Ice Spice should be in a movie at all. Certain appearances from certain individuals kinda just throws me off, especially when there's acclaimed actors and then there's a famous person who's there and doesn't really add anything. Rihanna used to do this every now and again and it happened to have the same effect at the beginning. The difference with Rihanna is that she actually was watchable the more she did it. Some stars just keep on trying but their efforts aren't making them win any brownie points with the audience. They're just ruining their public image. A24 is also known for taking risks when it comes to names. Well, that was the case back in the day. For example, YouTuber Bo Burnham has a movie called 8th Grade. This was unheard of at the time. A YouTuber making a movie for a production company that's almost on everyone's radar at this point. This is also the same with Uncut Gems. This was directed by the Safdie brothers. The Safdie brothers weren't really revered yet, but A24 didn't really care. If your story seems interesting enough and they believed it can have mass appeal, then they're like, alright, we're gonna give you a chance. And that's exactly what they did, but gone are the golden days of A24. If you think I'm being a negative Nancy, here's the proof to back everything I'm saying. If you still don't believe me, let's look at A24's recent films. Most notably, as of late, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has been all over the net doing press for The Smashing Machine. Clearly, A24 is trying to pivot into these sports/lifestyle films. I think this shift was noticeable ever since they saw positive reception from The Iron Claw. We've got Marty Supreme, we've got The Smashing Machine, and I'm sure this won't be the end of A24 trying to make more films in this genre. I just honestly preferred when I saw an A24 film and I was actually googling the cast once the end credits rolled. We have the film Opus starring the Bear cast member, and as of recently, we've got the Spike Lee movie Highest to Lowest with Denzel Washington. You see, there's nothing really wrong with Highest to Lowest. I like the plot, it's a cool storyline, but I'm just thinking to myself, why is A$AP Rocky and Ice Spice in this film? I get it, it's a New York thing, it's centered in New York, these guys are from New York, but I'm just thinking to myself, you could have got some established actors or actors on the come up from New York, put some NYU alumni in the film or something, just be an A24 film. I don't want to see someone known for shaking their ass in music videos being in a movie with an actor as legendary as Denzel Washington. Like, really? There's the horror movie Death of a Unicorn. I found this movie to be really dumb. It's got Jenna Ortega. A24 scooped her up when she was on the cusp of blowing up, and you know Jenna loves doing films in the horror genre, and it's got that other dude who's in the Marvel universe, so I was just like, yeah, come on A24, it gets to a point. A24 is starting to just become like Netflix. They seem more focused on having a huge catalog instead of actually producing good content. Because at the end of the day, Netflix is starting to become one of the most feared juggernauts in the industry. At this point, it's hard to compete with them because they basically have a monopoly over the industry. Well, it's getting to that level. Now they've even acquired the rights to Warner Bros. Content. It might seem like I'm going on a tangent. Trust me, this will be relevant shortly. But at the same time, I fully understand why A24 is doing what they're doing. At the end of the day, this is a business, so the business model kind of follows this blueprint. Make a movie even if the substance is kind of lacking, because it doesn't really matter. As long as we can get heavy hitters and huge A-listers, people are going to come and pay to see this movie, whether it's good or not, or if it matches our tagline. I'm putting tagline in quotations. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, we have to make money. They can no longer be doing what they did a decade ago, where they're trying to be experimental, or they're trying to put more indie directors or small names on the map. I'm sure they're still going to do that in the future, but I'm sure most of the times they're there in the boardroom like, guys, we need to find a way to make X amount of money this year, and we're going to do it by bringing Zendaya. That always works now, doesn't it? Long story short, here's the breakdown. While A24's most commercially successful films and absolute revenue came in the late 2010s and 2020s, its mid-2010s period is renowned for achieving peak profits, and as we all know, it's all about the money.
Called you then? So then who called you?
We are
Who
required
called
to
you?
investigate.
You fucking tell me who called and I'll tell you why.
This period is defined by massive return on investment from low budget films. For example, here's the little breakdown. We've got Spring Breakers from 2013. The budget was around 5 million and it had a worldwide gross of 32 million. After that, we had another movie in 2015 called The Witch. Its budget was around 4 million. It ended up doing 40 million worldwide, so that's like a return multiplier of 10 times its budget. Then again in 2015 we had The Room. Budget was 13 million. It did a gross profit of 36 million. And then in 2016, one of my favorite movies from A24 being Moonlight, it had a budget of 4 million and it ended up having a worldwide gross of 65 million. That's 16 times its budget. Then of course there was the scale era. That's from the late 2010s to the 2020s. With an established brand, A24 released films with larger budgets that achieved higher absolute grosses. For example, just to name a few, Lady Bird 2017, the budget was 10 million, it ended up doing nearly 80 million, so you can clearly see that there was a huge return on investment. Uncut Gems 2019, budget 19 million, ended up doing roughly 50 million gross, so that's more than 2.5 times its budget. Everything Everywhere All at Once 2022, budget of 25 million and it ended up doing a whopping 143 million gross, and that happens to be A24's highest grossing film. I think you get the picture. The idea that A24 made more money in the mid-2010s isn't true if we just look at total earnings from ticket sales. Either way, this is A24's time of peak efficiency. They used very small budgets to make groundbreaking movies, getting an incredible return on investment. This period proved their unique model could work. This is A24's time of beginning to use larger budgets to make bigger hits that earned much more money overall. This shows the success as a now major studio. So the mid-2010s were not when A24 earned the most cash, but they were its most financially important period. It was when they created the successful strategy that their future is relying on. A24 is either going to end up like Netflix or they'll become like Hulu. Nobody cares about Hulu. So tell me down below if you do think there has been an overall decline with A24.
Nigga, something more like, I got the blicky on me, OG, so don't try nothing tricky.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, consider watching one of the two on your screen right now. And don't forget, villains tell the best story.